Picture this, the year is 2023, and Europe stands at a podium, chest puffed out, and declares to the entire world, by 2035 every single combustion engine car will be banned, gone, extinct. Now this wasn't just some tree-hugging press release. This was Europe, the civilization that literally invented the internal combustion engine, the continent whose identity is welded to the roar of a BM straight 6, or the purr of a Mercedes V8, voluntarily smashing its own greatest weapon to pieces. They were so confident, so sure of themselves, and now they're scrambling, backpedaling, whispering behind closed doors that maybe, just maybe, 2035 was a bit ambitious, that maybe they need something called technology neutrality. What broke them? What made the most powerful automotive empire in human history flinch? The answer is terrifyingly simple: a flood of Chinese electric vehicles, priced at half what Europe can offer, backed by technology that Europe cannot match, arriving at a speed nobody predicted. This isn't just industry news, this is a 100-year throne being ripped away in real time, and what I'm about to walk you through is the anatomy of that overthrow. Let's start with the uncomfortable question. Why did Europe push the 2035 ban in the first place? On the surface, carbon neutrality. Save the planet, noble stuff. But underneath, pure calculated fear. Tesla was pulling ahead. China was locking down battery technology. Europe looked at the chessboard and panicked. They realized that if they kept clinging to what they were good at, engines, they'd lose the entire future market. So they decided to flip the board, rewrite the rules entirely. From now on, engines are illegal. Force every automaker on Earth into the EV arena, then dominate that arena with European infrastructure and European engineering. Reclaim another century of dominance. Except here's where the fatal miscalculation happens. The electric vehicle revolution that Europe so confidently ushered in. Its champion wasn't Mercedes, it wasn't Volkswagen, it was BYD, it was Xiaomi, it was Zeekr. Europe rolled out the red carpet and China walked right down the middle of it. And they didn't just walk, they sprinted. Look at the numbers. When a baseline European EV starts at $40,000, China is flooding the market with vehicles at $15,000, even $12,000. And before you say cheap Chinese junk, let me stop you right there. Every major technical analysis published in the last 2 years confirms that Chinese battery efficiency and integrated platform engineering is at least one generation ahead of Europe. CATL and BYD, the world's 2 largest battery manufacturers, are both Chinese. The battery accounts for roughly 40% of an EV's total cost. When you own the single most expensive component, you own the price war, period. Here's a number that should keep European executives awake at night. Manufacturing cost analyses show Chinese EV production runs 25 to 30% cheaper than European equivalents. This isn't just about labour costs. China completed full vertical integration years ago, from mining lithium to refining it. From producing cells to assembling finished vehicles, it's all under one roof. Europe? They're still scrambling across 3 continents just to source raw materials. This was never a fair fight. It was a heavyweight walking into a ring with a middleweight, except the middleweight doesn't know it yet. So what happened next was inevitable. European consumers, no matter how much they care about the planet, care about their bank accounts more. Chinese EVs started filling European streets, and then the screaming began. Volkswagen, for the first time in its entire history, started discussing closing factories on German soil, tens of thousands of jobs hanging by a thread. This isn't a quarterly earnings dip, this is structural collapse. Chinese companies rolled in with a finished ecosystem while European giants were still spending billions trying to build theirs. And here comes the reversal. Inside the EU, voices erupted demanding the 2035 ban be delayed or scrapped entirely. Germany and Italy led the charge. Their argument? E-fuels. Synthetic fuels made with the electricity that produce no net carbon emissions. Let us keep selling combustion engines, they said, as long as they run on clean fuel. Sounds reasonable on paper, but strip away the diplomatic language and what you're really hearing is surrender. We can't beat China at EVs yet. Give us more time. The continent that set the rules is now begging to change them. 100 years of automotive supremacy, and they're asking for an extension like a student who didn't study for the exam. But does China stop and wait? Not a chance. When Europe raised tariff walls, China pulled out something far more dangerous: the Trojan horse strategy. If tariffs make importing expensive, build factories inside Europe. BYD is constructing a massive production facility in Hungary. Suddenly it's not made in China anymore, it's made in EU. Same Chinese engineering, same Chinese cost advantages, zero tariff penalties. And they're not stopping at hardware. Chinese firms are pushing into autonomous driving software, vehicle operating systems, the entire digital brain of the car. Xiaomi's SU7 looked like a Porsche, functioned like a smartphone, and cost less than half of either. Imagine that car on every street in London, Paris, Berlin. Now here's what makes this truly irreversible. Even if Europe delays the ban, even if they buy themselves 5 or 10 more years, the fundamental equation doesn't change. China's battery supply chain dominance and cost structure aren't things you catch up to with policy tweaks. This is a structural advantage built over 2 decades of deliberate industrial strategy. Think of it like Stalingrad. Europe marched forward under the banner of green transition, confident and idealistic. But waiting at the destination was a fortress called China, armed with endless waves of affordable vehicles and a supply chain winter that never ends. Now Europe wants to retreat, but the supply lines are cut, the political credibility is spent, there's no clean way back. Experts are now predicting what they call the polarization scenario. Ultra-luxury vehicles, your Bentleys, your Ferraris, those stay European. But the mass market, the cars ordinary people actually drive to work every day, that belongs to China. Cars stop being status symbols and become appliances, like smartphones. And just like smartphones, the affordable ones will be Chinese. The moment a car becomes a commodity rather than a craft, Europe's century-old advantage evaporates. And Europe can't even fight back cleanly. Raise tariffs on Chinese cars. China retaliates against European luxury goods, wine, fashion, aerospace contracts. European automakers still generate enormous revenue inside China. Beijing could strangle that income overnight. Europe is, in the most literal sense, holding a sword while its opponent holds the sheath. So where does this end? The 2035 ban, whether it stays or goes, is almost irrelevant now. It's a symptom, not the disease. The disease is a once-in-a-century power transfer. The energy source that drives civilization's most important machine is shifting from petroleum to electricity, and the nation that controls the electrical supply chain controls the next 100 years of transportation. That nation is China. This isn't just about cars, this is about jobs, pensions, national GDP, entire cities built around factories that might not exist in 15 years. When Volkswagen closes a plant in Wolfsburg, that's not just a corporate decision, that's a community dying. The real question, the one that should keep every policymaker and every investor up at night, is simple. What comes after? When the dust settles, when the transition is complete, who's left standing? Europe built the automobile. They defined it for over a century. But they defined it as a mechanical masterpiece. The future car isn't mechanical, it's a battery with a computer on top, and in that new definition, Europe has no inherent advantage. Change has already begun. It's not coming, it's here. The cracks in Europe's 2035 ban aren't just policy adjustments. They're the sound of tectonic plates shifting beneath an entire civilization's economic foundation. The only question left is whether anyone can adapt fast enough to survive what's coming. Because the counterattack isn't approaching. It landed years ago. We're just now seeing the damage. This has been core Morsels. The world is colder and faster than most people realize. But now you see it clearly. Next time we go deeper, stay Z sharp.